So welcome, my name is Doug Mantle, and on behalf of the Network of Assistive Technologists, I'd like to welcome everyone to the webinar today. Before we take the wraps off of what promises to be an exciting and information-packed hour with the folks from IdeaMapper, I'd like to address just a few housekeeping items. As you see on the screen, there are some links provided. One is for captioning that is available by visiting www.bitly.com/IdeaMapper captions 15 N.O.A.T 2019. So bitly.com/IdeaMapper captions 15 N.O.A.T 2019. And ensure that you enter that all in lowercase. And if you do have any troubles with that, there is a link in the shared collaborative notes that you'll see the next link provides on the screen. Captions will be cleaned up and added to the replay version. So if there are any difficulties with them at this point, we do apologize, and they will be available for the replay. All registered participants will receive that link for the replay by email within a few days of the webinar's conclusion. And in the collaborative note-taking document, there are some related links for the webinar that are available, direct you to the IdeaMapper website for downloads of trials and that. And you can download the webinar slide deck after the presentation. We'll be making that available. So we do also ask that you consider sharing your thoughts about the webinar during and afterwards through the collaborative notes section. And if you can use the chat feature through the Zoom webinar software in order to ask your questions, we will be addressing those questions at the end of the webinar today. And lastly, the folks at IdeaMapper will be offering all attendees the opportunity to claim a free copy of the full IdeaMapper software. You can use this for your own evaluation purposes and while working with clients. You need to stay to the end of the webinar to find out how to take advantage of this fantastic opportunity though. So before we start the webinar and bring our guests on today, I'd like to just conduct a quick poll to find out what kind of mind mapping software that our participants are using presently. And I'm just pulling up the poll software here, the poll question here, or I thought I was. Apologize, this is the first time using Zoom for this large of an event. I apologize. Everything worked in our trial runs. I can assure you of that. There, I think we're going to be bringing the poll up now. No, it's telling me I'm logged in from another computer. It's funny when the technical people have technical issues. All right, we'll maybe bring that poll back towards the end of the webinar. So instead of us having to wait any longer for my delays. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Andreas Cruz. Dr. Cruz is a high-energy physicist by education, having worked at CERN, which is the European Organization for Nuclear Research in Geneva, Switzerland, and then in industry in Cambridge, UK, on A-life simulations and on molecular simulation programs. Dr. Cruz is the CTO of Biosilico Limited, the producer of SparkSpace software, and in particular SparkSpace EssayWriter and IdeaMapper. Today, he will share with you how IdeaMapper for Students AT can help students with neurodiverse issues succeed at college and university. And now, without any further delay, please join me in welcoming Dr. Andreas Cruz.
Right, okay, thank you very much, Doug. I just wanted to wave hello before I turn my video off because that's, hang on, I might just start sharing my screen here. That one. And now I'll turn my video off because it's probably going to be a little bit confusing. Alas, I can't do it. So I'll be, I think I'll be visible in the top left, top right-hand corner of your screen. But I apologize if I don't look at you, but in fact, I have to look at my screen. So I don't know how to turn this thing off. It's kind of strange. Okay. Right. Okay. So who am I? Andreas Cruz, CTO of Biosilico. This is the a little verbose introduction and title of this presentation today. Biosilico is a company that is a software company, and we have a number of brands that we produce software under, and one of them is SparkSpace. SparkSpace as a brand has been around for quite a while. If you have been in the industry for a while, you might have come across SparkSpace Learner, SparkSpace Educator, etc. And IdeaMapper is software that's built on technology that was developed there, but we've added a lot more to it. I'm the CTO, that is, I'm responsible for the development of this software. So you probably wonder, why don't we have a salesperson here? Reason is that experts like yourself, I would like to really get some feedback of. So if you have any suggestions, do please make use of the notes that Doug provided, the shared notes, to ask questions and things like that. But if you have specific questions about the software or suggestions, then please do email me. These presentations I have been doing in the UK for a number of years now, and it is quite amazing the amount of good feedback and negative feedback on rare occasions, but good feedback in a way, because people said, look, why doesn't it do that? And then the answer is usually, well, because we haven't thought of it, but thank you very much. So then we added it to the software. So that's how these things normally work. Okay, so what's the presentation going to be like? First, I'll give an overview of 2 minutes, then a product demonstration as some sort of a show and tell, from brainstorm to a published document. Then I will be talking about the issues that are supported by IdeaMapper, the way we attempt to help people with these issues. And then at the very end, there's going to be some something about pricing and resellers and things like that, in case you do find the software useful. But then also I will tell you how you can get a free license for assessors. Right, let's dive in. Okay, so what is IdeaMapper for Students AT? Well, why is it such a long name? Well, you all know the students who you've tried to help, who come into college or university with all enthusiasm, and they try to they have all that spirit of fresh thoughts and fresh ideas, and after a while they get knocked down. By what do they get knocked down? Well, they get knocked down by the inability to express themselves, to produce work that is an accurate reflection of their ability. Their disability clouds this. So Biosilico has been developing software to bridge this gap for quite a while, and IdeaMapper for Students is part of a family of products named IdeaMapper, IdeaMapper for Kids, for Students AT, and IdeaMapper Pro. These editions share a lot in common, and they do have differences, mainly depending on the market that they are aimed at. So IdeaMapper for Students is indeed a mind mapping program, and yeah, it does the job, but it also adds the ability to create and edit academic essays. Now, why are we interested in this market of universities? Well, this is not a Me Too market for us. This is not something we don't want to do this. For us, we're a small company, this market is interesting, and we have added a number of things to the software that only make sense in this context, and that's why we are in here. In the UK, you can buy this product under the title EssayWriter. There it is a software that is being recommended through the equivalent system that you have in Canada, so the so-called disabled student allowance assessors who recommend this software to students. So what does the software do? You can brainstorm, structure, research, write, reference, and publish all in one product. You don't have to do all those things, but you could if you wanted to. And it's available on Windows, Mac, Linux, and soon Chromebooks. So without further ado, I would like to just start by showing you how it works. So I'll just be starting up the software. And, it's already there for students. Okay, so IdeaMapper for students, when you start it up, starts generally with an empty map. You can also open previous maps, and then it shows you the maps that you've edited and shows you, so you can choose another one. But in order to show how the software is used, it's quite instructive, I feel, to start from an empty map and just to evolve and create an essay. So how about an essay that has a that is reasonably ambitious? Why are we dreaming? So this being the title, let me just make this a little bigger so now we can brainstorm on this subject. Dreams, nightmares, dreams in popular culture. REM sleep. What else can we say about dreams? Daydreams, creativity, triggered by emotions, often illogical. Okay, let's leave it as this. You can imagine, obviously, that I could go on forever on this particular subject, but now what we've done is we've brainstormed, and brainstorming in our context means creating ideas, but not giving any preference to any idea. So here, all I've done is just use this map as a place where I can just dump my ideas. Now, let's now switch to a thing called a split screen view. And in split screen view, you will be able to see on the right-hand side, in this case, the actual essay that I'm creating. So let's see, why are we dreaming? Let's put that in the middle and maybe have some taxonomy of dreams first. Dreams in popular culture, and then triggered by emotions. Maybe that goes also there. Often illogical. Okay, so now I've sorted it a little bit, and let's start connecting. And I connect by clicking in a button, clicking an idea, and connecting it to the next one. I'm sorry, I've got to change something here. Let's just use the correct. So now it's using colors to indicate the level at which we are editing. You can see that on the right-hand side, I'm creating a map. The text is created on the right-hand side, and the order of the text is a one-to-one translation of this particular structure. So starting at this idea, chapter 1, then chapter 2, chapter 3, and so on. So it's the geometry, is a geometric structure that translates on the right-hand side. And I can change this. I can say, okay, I want to talk about nightmares after REM sleep, or maybe I want to disconnect the REM sleep and connect it to this. So now it's become a subsection of that. So you can see I can change the structure very quickly and very easily. I can also start typing text on the right-hand side. Dreams are often illogical. They are triggered by emotions rather than by, okay. So the text on the right-hand side allows me to now expand on the ideas. So this would be a very simple essay that I can create with this. Now, you probably wonder, well, is this the only kind of layout that I can use? And the answer is no. You can have a number of layouts. So I'm going to use, for example, this layout. So in this case, this is the first idea. So it goes left to right. This is the second one, and so on. And you can change this around. So the structure can then evolve. You can have a number of different layouts. The software does support quite a few. It's also quite easy to change colors and shapes. This is kind of boring to just have bubbles here. So you can pop up a clip art, and let's say, okay, let's put that in here. So I'll put looks like a wolf on the nightmares idea. So why use images? Well, of course, you are familiar with that. What we really want is we want to associate. We want to use more than just the words to convey meaning, but images, they help us to do this as well. Now, what else would you be doing with an essay? Obviously, let me just go back to the star layout and then continue. One of the things you probably would do is you would want to have a table of contents. So let me add a table of contents. There it is on the right-hand side. The table of contents shows, well, yes, the table of contents is automatically generated, but it also shows you the word counts. That's very handy for the students, so they know exactly how many words they have to write and how many words how many they haven't written yet. So that's a very handy tool. The next thing you probably want to do when you are a student is you want to find some material to support your arguments. So let me just do a little Google search here. I can probably just bring that up. Yeah, okay, so here we are, Google. So Daydream song. Oh, there is probably a song, isn't there? Okay, right. Right, the Lovings. Okay, I don't want to quote Wikipedia. That's bad style, but I will do it anyway. No, I won't do it. Really, Wikipedia, we should not be quoting. Okay, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to just use this link here, genius.com, the Loving Spoonful Dream lyrics. So what I do now is I copy this URL and then get rid of this. So dreams and popular dreams have been dreams are the subject of many songs. So and now I'm going to paste this URL, and the program asks me, would you like to paste this hyperlink as a bibliographic reference? And I answer yes. And now let's see what the program has done. It has added on the right-hand side in the text a hyperlink, and there it also added a reference list to the document, and in there you find your reference, the 19, and okay, this is a reference to a web page, the Loving Spoonful year, and so on. So all this information is here. So I don't know who we are who we have to thank for this song, but let's assume it's somebody called John Smith. So, okay, so now I've added a reference to a citation to a source, and let's look at the print preview. And you can see now the program has automatically formatted the text in such a way that the reference is at the bottom here automatically. Now that makes it very easy now to add references. You can get them from the web. You can get, it allows you to read things from PubMed, you can import N.O.A.T, you can add a lot of additional reference materials to the software, and it will just allow you to use the references within your document. So let me maybe load a little bit of a more complex example to show you what the software can do. So here we have an essay. Oh, it opened on a different screen. So here we have an essay on the case for protecting snow leopards. So on the right-hand side, you can see a table of contents. And by the way, I can also just click through it and it will fast forward. And throughout the text, you now see a lot of references in the document. You can see here a table. Tables can also be added to the program. You can see on the left-hand side images. Now, these images come with source information. So let me just double-click on it to show you. So here's an image that I added to the document, and you can have reference data that belongs to this image. And the same you can do for tables. And there you have your reference lists at the end on the left-hand side. So there's your layout. Now let me show you what this looks like in print preview. Okay, so if I zoom in here, there's your table of contents. There's your text. And there are your references. In this case, I've chosen to format this to use a Harvard-style reference. So it uses that. And you can see that also the table has a reference to it. The same as the image, there's a reference there. Now, if we go to the bottom of the document, here's the reference list that's automatically generated by the program. Okay. So what can you do with this document? You can save it in, for example, Word. And let's have a look at what this would look like. So to save, you click on Save As, and then you choose the desktop in my case. And then you choose one of the many formats. And in this case, I'm going to choose Microsoft Word 2007 Document DocX. And it tells me, would you like to overwrite it? And I say yes. And now let's see. It's going to take just a moment. Aha. All right, so that's happening on there's some log that's happening on my screen that you can't see, but it's just going to take a second or two. There, so now it's there. Now I'm going to try and open this file. I just have to find it somewhere. Oh gosh, where did it go? Here we are. Okay, so let me just drag it across. So here is your Word document. There's your text in the Word document. Now note that these are actually Word objects. If you are using Word to its fullest, then that's what you are going to do. You're going to use Word objects. Here there is a reference, the tables, etc. So it uses Word to its fullest to supply all the data. Also, the reference list at the bottom is a Word reference list. And in fact, if you look at the References tab in Word, you can manage your sources, and there you find your references here on the right-hand side. Okay, So enough about references. I hope you believe me that the software deals with references in a very efficient way. This is the reason why there are entire universities buying this software, because they are saying that this will enable the students to actually write essays efficiently. Right, let me show you one more thing. I did mention, that you can actually import also from other programs. So in this case, let me show you how to import from Inspiration, for example. So I'm here, there's a file in Congress of Vienna, and it opens again on the other side of the screen, but there it is. So here's your Inspiration document in its full glory. With text, etc. in it. Now you can also import from other programs such as MindView, Mind Manager, MindGenius. So that's all in there. Okay, so what have I shown you? What haven't I shown you? Well, I haven't really shown you any fancy maps that look exciting. Suffice to say, there is a lot of functionality in here, but I didn't want to go into it because the functionality is what you would expect. So you can change the layouts of, for example, you can have a top down there, or you could have a different layout called a sideways layout. So that's the one that you're familiar with from other mind mapping programs, where it uses a different order. You can change colors. One of the things that is quite instructive is you can change the way the colors are automatically assigned. In this case, it uses a different color per chapter. So that's kind of a useful thing. Again, you can change shapes, etc., but I'm not going to bore you with this. Instead, I am looking at the watch, and I only I've taken a little bit too much time for this. Maybe one or two more things before we move on. It does come with a Zotero interface. Again, this is for your students who are using referencing in university. It also comes with a number of other features, which I'm going to discuss later on, so throughout the rest of this presentation. So let me just hide these and just confirm that I've actually shown you all these things. I believe I have. Okay, now let's talk about what we can do, or which areas of where we're hoping that we can help. Now, I'm not going to pretend to understand all the details of all these conditions, but these are the particular disabilities that have certain difficulties that are common and that we try to solve. So let me pop up the next slide. Essentially showing you the various difficulties that we can address with this software. Now, structuring, prioritizing, and sequencing, information processing and retaining, well, actually just getting started. Then focus and distraction, stress, dealing with stress that makes it worse, reading comprehension and writing difficulties, and short-term memory issues. So I shall go through each of those one by one and show you how we address these issues. So let's get started with structuring, prioritizing, sequencing. Well, this is in fact why you are using mind mapping. You are using mind mapping because structuring in a graphical way and bringing your thoughts down in a graphical way is, for many people, much more attractive. For many people with disabilities, much more attractive than using just lists and lists of lists. Lists are evil and cause stress. So just like other mind mapping programs, our software does appeal to visual and spatial thinkers. However, we have some extra things which I think stand out, and that the particular ones have to do with the ability to see the split view. the split screen view. So let me demonstrate this on here. So I did show this earlier, but you have here a map on the left, and all we're doing now is we're moving an idea around. And as we move it and drop it, the structure on the right-hand side has changed. So what used to be a cut and paste operation in Word is now a simple drag and drop in a graphical user interface, and you get instant feedback. Now you can have, by the way, you can run this software on multiple screens. So you could have one screen just with a map and one screen just with the text, and then you can see these things. Also, by the way, would just like to point out, you might be surprised to see the user interface on this screenshot, on this little animation here, is actually quite different to what I've shown you earlier. This is a ribbon user interface, which is just coming out now and will be available very shortly to all users. But it isn't fully debugged yet, so I don't want to have anything that crashes on me during a presentation. Not that that is likely to happen, but if it would, I'd be very upset. Okay, so now what about productivity? So imagine your student using the whole toolkit of softwares to create their essays and do their assignments. What do they end up doing is they will, yes, they will be using a mind mapping program to create a structure, and then they export that structure into Word, and then they work in Word, and that's it. They also may have a program to collect references, so they already juggle 3 different programs. Now, in our case, there's no need for that. They can do this all in one. And what's also good is they can change you can change your mind about your structure at any point in time. There's no reason why you couldn't do this at the very end. You know, to move a chapter or two or a section or two is a doddle. Also, our software helps students to create high quality essays rather than high quality maps, even though the maps look good, is because we are limiting the functionality to what's really required to achieve the task at hand. And this is really about getting the student productive. Next, focus distraction. So how do we keep the students focused on the task at hand? Well, the split screen does that because it shows both the context and the detail. So the students will be prompted by the map to remember, you know, this is stuff you still have to work on, but at the same time they can add their detailed text. This has another advantage. Suppose while writing something, you have another idea, something that you do need to remember. And well, what would you do? You could put it on a piece of paper, on a note or something, or you just make another idea on a map. But you haven't actually lost the track there, because all you do is just create another idea. And yet you can just continue. So the software also allows you to focus in on parts of the essay without getting overwhelmed by the detail. Let me show you this in a small animation as well. So here you can see that we have collapsed some of the branches, and you can expand those branches just by clicking on the little button on the top right-hand corner of the idea, and there you go. So it's very simple just to concentrate on parts of the map. Now, you could also just say, oh, I want to concentrate really only on this chapter, so please hide everything else. And for this, there's an option called Show this branch only, and there you are. So now you're concentrating only on this. Now, how about information management and retention? Again, you have simultaneous spatial and sequential view. That supports short-term memory because all the student has to do if they want to you know, if they're not quite sure about the structure or what else to do, then all they have to do is open their eyes. But there is more to it. And I shall just demonstrate this in the next view. And this is this 3D feature. Let me demonstrate this. So here you see a map. Again, this the case of predicting snow leopards. Now, what you can see that it is that in this case the map is bigger than the screen. So what would you do? You would pan and zoom to get to parts of your map. Unfortunately, what you're doing then is you are moving part of the map both off screen, but you also have to move it into your short-term memory. So that's a problem. You know, I told you that we are trying to improve your short-term memory. We're trying to help you with your short-term memory. So how do we deal with this? Well, with our software, you can switch into something called a 3D view. And in this 3D view, you can then rotate the map around and you can edit with this way. In this way, you can edit much larger documents. So you can see more, but it also gives the student a sense of control over the subject matter. This particular action of doing this 3D view is something that is a very good thing and keeps the student in control. It gives the student a sense of the abstract in a tangible way, in a tactile way. Procrastination. Okay, so why do people procrastinate? I suppose is a question, and maybe that is should be a subject of the next essay. Well, I find it. I suspect it's got something to do with stress. The stress of and the fear of failing, of running into a problem that I can't solve. And so, how do we do this? What can we do? Well, first of all, the program is intuitive, etc., easy to use, etc. But what we also do is we provide a thing called a phrase bank, and it has a lot of templates, and there's brainstorming rapid fire to make it easy. Now, I am not sure, I don't think I've actually got a demo of the phrase bank, so I shall just show this. So here we are in the map. So suppose I need to start writing and I don't know what to say about dreams, about, you know, this is the introduction, it needs to sound good. So for this, we have an option here called phrase bank. So there's a phrase bank button at the top right, and I click this phrase bank button. And it opens up the phrase bank. And in this phrase bank, I can now drill down and find stuff that I want to write about. So, for example, establish the importance of the, okay, so maybe this is not very helpful. All right, how about this? Central to the entire discipline of, now I'm going to make a wrong statement. Is the research of dreams, which was pioneered by, etc., etc., etc. So I can get started with text here, and well, you might ask, oh, have I now plagiarized? What about plagiarism? What about plagiarism? Well, it's a very good question. Well, our opinion is you haven't plagiarized, because our phrase bank is, by the way, vetted by Manchester University in the UK, but it's also full of academic speak, if you will. So it helps the student to find the right academic expression for their problem, for the context that they're working in. And that's a very handy thing to do. What you should do if you are struggling to express something is look at what other people do. How do other people say what I want to say? Now, how about the P word though? Let me just try and plagiarize something. Okay, so here we have this page here. And what I'm going to do is I'll just take this text here, and I'm going to try to plagiarize now. Okay, I'll paste this text. And now what the program now says is, would you like to paste this text as quotation and insert a bibliographic reference to it? Okay, so I say yes, and then the program does exactly that. It turns the text I just dropped as pasted as a quote, and then puts a reference to it here. So here, if I bring this up, so now I can actually put this in, author, Mantel Doug, and I can put the website in, etc., etc., and I can, and now I have actually correctly referenced his work. So that is how we deal with plagiarism, by the way. Okay. Now, writing difficulties. Those are, we try to add a feature into the software to help with this particular issue of so-called rambling writing. We have been talking to study skills tutors about our software as well, and they said, well, this would be something that would help us if you could solve this problem. And we then said, well, how do you solve it on paper? And they said, well, if somebody rambles writing in their writing, so they just never stop, what we do is we use a highlighter pen and then pick out the topic sentence, main argument, and concluding sentence, and then we teach the student that is a paragraph and how the paragraph structure should be. So let me just demonstrate this in the software. So suppose you have some rambling writing here, then you can just turn on this feature called Show Paragraph, and it then uses a highlighting, very simple algorithm to split the document into, that allows you to visualize in colors what are the topic sentences and the main arguments and the concluding sentences of your paragraphs. Okay. Now, referencing, I'm not going to go over again, but just suffice to say that references are integrated into the essay on your documented writing. It also reduces accidental plagiarism, and thereby we believe it reduces the complexity and stress of referencing. Referencing is I mean, nightmare to many students. So we believe that we have, in fact, created a tool that improves efficiency and productivity, reduces distractions, and reduces danger of plagiarism, etc., etc. Ultimately, what this is all about is giving a student a tool that allows the student to express their ability rather than being hampered by their disability. So this is what I wanted to say about our approach to this. Now we come to the section on pricing, if you are interested. So these are the various different editions of the software. So there is IdeaMapper, and the target market is grades 5 to 12, but in principle, of course, it can be used by anybody. Then you have the 4 Kids version, and that is really a K to grade 4 product. Then there is the students version. Now that has the big addition of referencing, and also in future it will have a thing called layered maps, and hopefully there are a few more minutes, so I can just quickly jump into showing you what layers are. And then students, the AT version, or the AT version has the paragraph structure highlighting in there and text-to-speech facility. Where can you purchase this? Well, we have a number of resellers already for this product, 2 in Canada and in the US, currently 3. Our main distributor in the US and Canada is Douglas Stewart. And we do expect more resellers to come online. You can also purchase the software online via our website, and then it is distributed through our online reseller Paddle. They handle all the taxes, etc. That makes it much, much easier for us. So that's where to purchase it. So what about a roadmap? What about future stuff? If you want to see this, let me show you. Right. In December, so that's December this year, we are going to release a version of the software that has something called organic maps and shapes in it. So I'm going to have to quit the software actually before I can show you this. So this is, I'm now loading a test version of the software. Okay, so here, let me show you. So you can make maps like this, where it, uses these very cool, nice organic type shapes, and so that makes it look very pretty. We are adding additional nice looking icons, etc. to it to make the maps look more attractive. So that is that. Oh, by the way, there is you probably wonder why are we not why are we using this UI here with the buttons at the top and these, it looks kind of oldish. Well, let me tell you that there are applications where it's extremely handy to have just big buttons. Okay, so I'm now using my touch UI. So I'm using my screen. So now you can see I'm manipulating this in 3D, and now it is very handy to have buttons that I can just press like that. I don't have to, do anything with the, it's easier than others. So also, if you're on a whiteboard, you can do things like this. You can move all the buttons to the bottom, and then you have, it's easier to use the software. You don't have to reach up that high. Okay. The other thing that I'd like to show you is the ribbon UI. Now this is something that, again, that's going to be available in December. So this will be an optional user interface. So you've just seen the button, the normal traditional buttons that I've just shown you with toolbars, etc. And here we have a ribbon UI. So what is a ribbon? The ribbon is what you see at the top of the view. So here you have the functionality grouped in tabs that you can access. This is something that you're familiar with from Word and Outlook, etc. You can also hide this and show this. Also, there are a number of functions put into the frame of the screen. So as you can see, there's a lot of functionality there. Right. I hope we still have a minute or two. Yes, there are a couple more minutes. I'm going to go a little bit over. I hope that's okay. Please do stop me if you want. But the next thing I'd like you to show is what we are planning for FETC 2020. So what we are showing there is something called layered idea maps, and this is actually a subject of a patent. The idea is that you can create another idea map in the same document and use the same ideas and connect them in a different order. So let me show you this as an example. It's much easier to see. Okay, so consider a map showing musical instruments. So here you have musical instruments, and there's sort of a taxonomy here. So they are grouped by percussion, instrument strings, woodwind, brass, and other. Now, okay, yeah. Now suppose the user was asked to create a map showing the evolution of instruments. So essentially arrange these in a timeline. Okay, how could you do that? Well, you could just make a copy of the entire document and then rearrange the document. But now you have two documents, and these documents are immediately out of sync. They're no longer the same. They're no longer, if you make a change in one, say you discovered a spelling mistake or something like that, then you will have to then duplicate this into the other document. That's not very efficient. So with layers, what you can do is you can create another map in the same document that uses a different layout. So these are the same ideas, but arranged in a timeline. And the user can switch from layer to layer using the next and previous button. So you can see here, now I'll switch back to the one. And then there is a there's a layers tab, and in the layers tab, you can see how this works. Let me just pause this, and it needs a little bit more time to look at. So you can see there are these columns indicating the layers. So this is the default layer. Then there is the history layer. You can see that some of the ideas are visible, not all of them, but some of the ideas are visible in both layers. And then you can, if you switch back to that layer, you can see there the order. And you can also appreciate that I can just change the order in here, and that does not affect the other map at all. Yes, so that's what layered ideas maps are. Now, what would be the application for that? Well, you could, for example, collect the ideas and resources in one layer and write the essay in another and create a presentation in the third. By the way, I did not mention this, but the software can actually export also into PowerPoint. So you're using the software essentially just to create the slides. However, the PowerPoint slides, you know, all the transitions, all the funky things that you do in PowerPoint, we don't translate. So this is really just about the content. Then the next thing that we will be showing in January 2020 is indeed a Chromebook version of our software. So this will be fully featured, except for a few features which are not available because of platform limitations. Chromebook does have accessibility features, but we can't make use of them, at least not in that initial version. So there is a limitation there. But apart from that, it'll just work like the normal program, and I'll show you here. This is our test we've done. So this is a video of a test, because I can't actually. Oh, I could have done it with Chrome. But so here we are. So here's the Chrome Web Store. There you can see IdeaMapper. So this is available only for developers and testers at the moment. And there you go. You have the icons there. Then you can launch the software. So in this case, it's IdeaMapper for kids. So you can just use it as you would any other on any other platform. You can also use the Touch UI just to drop the ideas, etc. So it's a very simple user interface. And yeah, so it's available, will be available on a Chromebook. So that is the IdeaMapper for Students version will be available for Chromebooks. Okay, so questions. And here we come to the goodie. If you like, we do love giving our licenses away for free. That is to assessors and study skills tutors. So please do email Callum at ideamapper.com. Callum Ferguson is our channel sales manager, and you will get a full perpetual, not for resale license of the software that you can use for yourself or for students. And we're very, very happy to provide you with this. We also have webinars and free certification training. So if you want to become a certified trainer of our software, then please do contact us at ideamapper.com. Thank you very much. So that is as far as my presentation is going. Is gone. So I'm hoping I have. Oh, it's only 2 minutes above the time, but of course there might be questions. So what I would do is maybe, I don't know, let Doug take over from here. Doug, do you want to?
Yes, thank you, Andreas. That's a
Okay.
wonderful presentation. Lots of information in there. Personally, I've played with the program and I still couldn't digest everything you were showing in that full hour. So myself and I hope others would take you up on your offer of other training webinars and product demonstrations. And yes, we do have a few questions just before we start in with those. If there are any people who are needing to leave because of the time, and that's just going over the hour that we anticipated, the replay will be sent out as within the next few days. We just have to render the video and clean up the captions. So with regards to the questions, Andreas, some of these I know you've answered, but I want to make sure that we look after them all here. So there was a post of one of the participants looking for similar features in IdeaMapper to What's an Inspiration, specifically the transfer button that moves into an outline, moves your outline view into Word, and then a presentation button that converts the presentation, the file into a PowerPoint presentation. I think you've mentioned both of those in your presentation today, but did you have anything to add to that?
Except it isn't a button that then opens Word, so you actually save a file and then you have to open the file from within Word or double click on it or a PowerPoint. So maybe we should contemplate that. But and you can also, by the way, save just the outline if you like. So
Okay.
so not just the text, but you can save also the outline.
Okay, great. So, and the next question that we had here was someone asking for pricing for college-wide site license to allow IdeaMapper to be on all college computers, similar to Inspiration license that they currently have. Is that something you're considering?
Yes, and yes, but those are things that best are discussed with our sales person. In fact, Callum, whose email address I've already flashed up, he's the person to actually get in touch with.
If you want to put it back one slide, Andreas, on your end, it should.
I will do. Yeah. Let me just see. Here we go. Oh, there we are.
There we are. For anybody who needs that information.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and another comment here is, does IdeaMapper provide students with a collection of subject discipline-based templates? Inspiration provided a wealth of humanities, science, English, and thinking and learning templates, which provided students with informative starter information, such as writing, compare and contrast assignment to help launch ideas. Are these available, or will they be available in IdeaMapper?
They actually are available on our website already. Okay. So the answer is yes.
Downloadable as a sample or as documents that you bring in. Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah. And that was just me welcoming those who were late. I apologize. lost my scrolling here on the screen. So regarding the outline view, are other prefixes and indents available, such as legal prefixes, not being great for younger students, and then the indents in some programs provide important visual cues?
Well, you can use different numbering algorithms, if you will. So you have Roman and others. So you can fully customize this. But indentation, it's actually a good idea. We should. Thank you. Should be added to the list of suggestions. I hope that's okay.
Something just to let our participants know is I've been working with Andreas on learning this software for our university here that I work at, and he's very open to feedback. And as you've just heard, in a very short span of about 2 or 3 minutes here, he's already gotten 2 new ideas that he's considering implementing. And that's even though this program has been around for a number of years in the UK. They're expanding it here in the Canadian US edition. So if you've got suggestions for him, I know he's all ears.
I'm all ears indeed. I mean, as I said, but with software, it's, you look at a problem in one particular way, and then in time, somebody says, well, why don't you do it this way? So for example, the layer thing, the layers was something that where somebody actually told me after I gave a presentation. It was an assessor in Newport in Wales, and it's the first time ever somebody said to me, I don't like your software. And I was stunned, and I said, well, can you please explain? And he went into it, and yeah, he made a good point. And so that was actually the reason why we have layers in there, because he said, look, this needs to be solved. And so that was okay. So
All right. That same participant was asking that if towards the end we could compare the differences between the versions and point to an online comparison table. I think that's been looked after because you did provide that. And
Yeah.
and are there any ways to simplify the interface, the toolbars at the top, as they're as you were showing them, they could be visually intimidating for some students. Perhaps a way to reduce to only the needed tools or a customized toolbar.
Yes,
And yeah, go ahead.
you can just simply hide toolbars that are not required. So
Okay.
that's very simple, and that save that, just quit the program and restart, and they won't be showing. You
Okay.
can make them visible again, but you can just reduce the number of toolbars. With the ribbon, that what we are looking at there is the ribbon is currently in most programs, the ribbon is only there because the functionality of the program is so overwhelming that the user doesn't actually, that you can't fit everything into the toolbars. But what we are thinking of is using the ribbon to think more of the context in which the user finds himself. So a brainstorm tab and a review tab and a research tab, and so really to look at the context and then only have those contexts sensitive functions available. So that's what we would like to use the ribbon for. So for that we will be providing, this is not in the next version in December, but in future versions we will be providing the ability for the user to customize the ribbon, and we would then also be able to preload ones. So you would have then a ribbon version that is very simple, and one that is geared towards I don't know, academic writing, etc. So
Okay. All right. And I think you touched a little bit on this in regards to the narrator function, but could you speak just briefly to the integration of the device's built-in text to speech and speech? I can't speak today myself. Speech to text functions.
yeah, it's using SAPI 5. So any SAPI 5 speech engine you've got installed on your computer should be accessible. That's it. You click text, you press text to speech, and it reads it out. Now you and I, Doug, we've had a look at this, and you pointed out a few kind of shortcomings. So there will be an update available for that. So yeah, you
Okay.
never stop learning.
All right, and is there any integration with the reverse for you to be able to dictate into the program?
You can just dictate using Dragon or Natural Speaking, for example. It'll just accept that, yeah.
Okay, and can IdeaMapper be used with only the keyboard?
Aha. Probably not, because there are a few things that you can't actually do with just the keyboard, but those are things that we are looking at right now. Just
okay.
This has been high priority bugs.
Great, and you've been quoted for all eternity about the fact that that lists are evil and they cause stress. So,
well, no, I don't know. At least at the end of a day.
Yes, and regarding teachers being able to create their own and distribute their own templates, can that be done?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Templates are an excellent way of getting students started. Templates are not just example files, but templates can contain guide notes, if you will, notes that are then visible as a sort of a tooltip. So you open the map, and then as you hover over the ideas, it will show you the tooltip that the teacher has created for you.
Okay, great. And can teachers create their own custom phrase banks for specific tasks or subjects?
No problem. Yes, the phrase bank is nothing but a map. So it's just another IdeaMapper.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. And are you thinking of adopting a licensing administration interface where a school administrator would add or remove student access to licenses?
So far, we haven't got that, but depending on demand, we would.
All right. And someone is asking for your email address to contact you with ideas.
Aha, yes, Andreas@biosilico.com.
Okay. And I'll make sure that the contact information is in the the collaborative note-taking document as well for everyone, and in the follow-up email that goes out.
Yep.
And a question of, does it work with word prediction such as word queue and voice input such as Dragon? You've already answered part of that. And any chance of a 60-day trial to cover the application process for funding for the tool?
No problem. Do email us. Now, we have had this in the past where what we would do is, see, if you download the software as a trial from our website, you get a 30-day free trial. But 30 days is not enough in this instance. So we have had this in the past where you could then have like a separate form where you could fill in, you know, like a longer trial, and then you wouldn't even have, there was no human involvement there, but by essentially giving us your email address, we would give you a, I don't know, 60 or 90-day license, something like that. We probably should re-enable this particular function. By the way, we're not nasty people harvesting email addresses so that we can spam you with stuff. It's just for us a way, you know, to be able to say, look, how did you find our software, etc. So it's not, you know, we're not going to be. Okay. But yes.
And that is an important thing for, definitely I can speak to those of us in Canada, especially Ontario, is that we do sometimes need longer than 30 days in order to be able to bridge the gap of the funding delays when applying for government funding. So I'm glad to hear that you're considering some ways to work around on that, and obviously the details and updates will be posted on the website for that. Okay. And will there be an option to have bank or learning library be available where you're assigning to students where you're assigning it to the students, and what about expectations of use for studying or visual learning?
Ooh, I'm not sure I understand the question.
No, and I'm not. If that appears to have come from Ricardo. If Ricardo is still with us, if he could be kind enough to maybe elaborate on that in the chat box, we can clear that up. And we have a thank you to both Andreas and to the Network of Assistive Tech for putting this on. Oh, here's one more question. Speech recognition, but can you dictate into IdeaMapper using the device's built-in dictation, for example, Mac OS dictation? By the way, this would not work with Inspiration.
Okay, so now it should work. It will work, yes. Gosh, I can't see why it shouldn't work, but hey, if it doesn't, it would be a serious bug. So the answer is, I'm sticking my neck out now. Yes, you can.
And if you can't, you need to let Andreas know, because
please let me know, and then we'll fix that.
Okay, and I would assume that just to clarify from my own knowledge, as well as I'm sure a lot of our participants, with the recent updates to the Mac operating system, they've changed some of the way that the built-in dictation features work. So there is a possibility that there might be a little glitch there.
Yes. It does ask you. Well, I do. You know, it does ask you if you want to have access to the accessibility features. So as long as you tick yes, it'll be fine. So, but okay. Don't quote me on that. Well, okay. Too late. But it is 64-bit compatible, so.
Yes, and I apologize. That was a question, the 64-bit and 32-bit. Did we gloss over that question?
We didn't mention it now, but yes, it is. It works 64-bit on a Mac, no problem.
I apologize to Clark. I missed that question as I was scrolling down here, and he was asking whether it's available in both 32 and 64.
Yeah. Well, on a PC, it's actually only 32-bit. We could make a 64-bit version, but hey, in my opinion, Microsoft is oh gosh, I hope I don't upset many Apple people here, but in my opinion, Microsoft has the engineering better under control, and therefore they're okay with 32-bit machines. So, anyways, I think the 32-bit will be around for a long time on Windows, so that's why we're not really too worried about 64-bit.
I hear you saying, I think, Andreas, that if Microsoft did move to a 64-bit, that you would be easily moving your software to work with it as well.
Yeah,
So,
no
okay. And Ricardo did clarify, he says that the bank question is a separate question. So does it work with voice prediction? We answered that. And then, okay, will an option to have a bank or learning library be available where you can assign to students? So again, Ricardo, if you're still with us,
I'd be happy to discuss this offline with Ricardo. I mean,
yeah,
just,
I can, if Ricardo, I've just unmuted you. If you happen to have a microphone available, you can actually speak your question. Oh, Ricardo was saying I was answered. It's fine. I apologize for the confusion there, Ricardo. But if there is further clarification, by all means, get in touch.
Yeah,
with
if you have,
Andreas.
you know, if you have any great ideas, please let me know. I mean,
okay,
that's.
And we've got a few people here who are more than happy to test this for you once they get their free license. So
fantastic.
So I would say that Callum is going to have a few emails.
Great. Great.
And someone is saying that they're interested in testing this for our students as well, especially the templates function and the phrases. Personally, they feel that the color and other visual options are less important than the functionality for actual writing. So that's a little bit of feedback for you.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean,
okay. All right. And Ricardo did add in here. He says, please add prediction. I mean word prediction. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's another feature for you to consider on the long list, Andreas.
Yeah, that might require some sort of, you know, in order not to be too dumb, it would have to be some sort of cloud-based thing where it uses cloud-based information. So that yes, there is stuff that we are already thinking about, but
okay, don't let too many secrets out.
Nope.
So, okay, I've come to the end of the questions on my list here. So if I've accidentally skipped over someone's question, please try and put it in the chat box here, or add it into the collaborative note-taking document, and we'll make sure that it's addressed. So, and I should just double check that there are some questions here actually that have been added to the collaborative note-taking document. That one was looked after. Can you, some questions here from Sheridan College in Toronto, area, Toronto, Ontario, is can you format for APA?
Yes.
Okay, and does it work with, oh, I guess all the other questions that I hadn't had a chance to read yet were already answered. So
okay,
they just changed the document. Gotta love collaborative document editing. So,
collaborative documents, yes.
Yeah, so all right. Well, Andreas, if I'm just going to share my screen here and just want to, I think this will share it. Appreciate everybody's patience as I'm getting used to this this new webinar platform. So I do want to thank everybody for attending, and especially I want to thank Andreas for his expertise and his knowledge here, and being able to provide this amount of information in a very short period of time. It's quite an in-depth program, as I'm sure that everybody in attendance has learned. So it's been a fantastic hour, and I'd like to sincerely thank you, Dr. Cruz, again, for taking the time as you exposed and launched IdeaMapper to the AT communities of Canada and the US. I'm pretty sure all of us will be keeping an eye on the IdeaMapper as it launches this side of the water. For those of you who may not know or have been able to figure it out through our multiple references, IdeaMapper is a UK-based company. So it's almost time for Andreas to have dinner and retire for the night and the weekend.
Yes,
So,
yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you for the time that you all gave me today. So thank you.
Okay, not a problem. Again, I appreciate your being here with us today, and hopefully you can stay in touch and be able to to keep us up to date on some of the new features, and we may be able to hold some other webinars where there's some specific training in that if the membership is looking for that. So.
Yes.
So, and just last final note is just remember you can't spell education without AT.
That's true.
So, okay. Well,
Thank
any
you.
final thoughts or questions, Andreas? Or
no, that's it. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.